Now, and British Airways has indicated the possibility of a price reduction in tickets from next year. This is because the airline is working towards increasing its Gatwick flights to 4 from 3 and also 9 flights from Heathrow to Accra. Travelers may pay $2,000 for a return economy flight to London. Neil Alan Chenoff is the chief officer in charge of planning and strategy at British Airways and spoke to Joy Business.
Pricing in the airline industry is very complex, you know, at the very heart of it all comes down a bit to supply and demand. And so, right, generally as flights get fuller, right, seats get a bit more expensive. And, you know, even though, you know, we still compete with, let's say, whether it's Brussels Airlines, Air France, Emirates, right, people have the opportunity to make connections. And so you have to offer a price that's right, that, you know, people will be willing to fly direct or maybe not take the connection. But, you know, in just basic supply and demand, if the demand exceeds the supply, that tends to drive the price up. And so really the way as an airline to be able to lower prices and make those more affordable is really by adding supply. And so that was the motivation behind adding these additional frequencies. And so if you think of, you know, again, supply and demand in a general market, if, you know, I mentioned by next April we'll have 55% more seats. If you have 55% more seats that need to be sold, the way that you're going to sell them is ultimately you should see prices being lower. And often, like I said, the way that airlines work is if flights get really full, that's when prices tend to increase. If we have more seats, right, then there should be more seats out there for people to be able to access at lower fare buckets.
So from your part, you are committed to improving supply, and that could go a long way to impact pricing on the route.
Yeah, exactly.
And that is an assurance from you. So I mean, going forward in April, when the more routes or more frequencies are increased, that could possibly impact on pricing, some would say.
That should impact on pricing, again, from the impact of just supply and demand.
What influences your decision? I mean, one of your job areas is to the alliance and all the rest. What influences your decision in terms of adding routes, frequency, Africa, Ghana, and the other markets that you operate in?
Yeah. Look, ultimately what we're looking at is, you know, we fly, let's say, about 100 long-haul aircraft out of Heathrow, 12 long-haul aircraft out of Gatwick, and ultimately we want to deploy those where we want to basically meet where demand is. And so we're always looking to put those planes where we find that demand is strongest. I mentioned this earlier, we haven't fully recovered our capacity into Asia because that demand has been much slower to recover. We have recovered most of our long-haul capacity into North America, but when we're making decisions, what we look at is what routes are working well, which tend to be, right, obviously routes that are full, or, you know, we see that they're doing well because overall, right, it looks like we're kind of the revenue or the profit, let's say, that we're making from flying that flight is working well. And so ultimately we're always rebalancing the network, and really what it is trying to put those aircraft where we're seeing the strongest demand.